There we go.
All right, yeah. We're back with, what is this, number
4?
Number 4, with the incredible Nicole Jaffe.
Wow.
Also known by Nicole Kiki Jaffe.
Yeah, we are at LAPC right now, which is a studio up in the valley by Van Nuys Airport, finishing her record. And we figured, why not take advantage of that and ask her a bunch of questions and make her feel really awkward. So that'll be great. I guess first off, like, who are you? How did we meet? How did you end up here?
I guess I met you. Well, I met you the first time at Brenda Carsey's music video shoot.
Oh, that was a good night.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
We danced really hard.
We danced really hard. It was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess we talked some more, and then you guys came to like one of my shows at the open mic the last night, and then
And we were completely blown away.
Yeah, she's a
thanks,
captivating
guys. Thank
performer,
you.
to say the least.
And then then we're like, let's make a record. And I was like, okay.
Okay,
And
nice.
then it happened.
Well, okay. So, what do you do in LA other than music, or like, what's your side hustle?
So I'm a graphic designer and web developer, and I have a studio downtown called Yay Brigade with my business partner Roman Shaster.
Nice.
And yeah, we work with mostly artists and nonprofits and museums and schools. So yeah,
Interesting.
my main thing.
So I guess like the first question that comes to mind. There's no bias behind this question, but so I mean, if you had it your way, would you? Is this something you love doing? Is the Yay Brigade something you love doing aside? Like, would you choose to be full-time music, or would you choose to like? Would you like doing both at the same time, kind of thing?
I do like doing both. I don't. I might shift to be doing more music and less design. I don't know. I've like always been a person that does a million things, and like I don't feel really happy if I'm just doing one thing.
Yeah.
So
You seem really creative, kind of across the board.
Oh,
It was really cool. Like while we're in here in the studio, like making your record, you're also on your laptop, like designing the artwork for it and stuff.
Yeah. I just like all kinds of like creative expression and I mean I also code, so I like mathy, logic-y stuff too. So it's just really nice to have a balance of that, and right now I feel like I kind of have that.
Well, the most important thing is just only doing things that you want to do. You know, it seems like you are choosing to do all those things, so none of them way too much, maybe.
Yeah, I mean there are I do like run a graphic design studio, and there are parts of that that I don't want to do.
Exactly.
Like sometimes clients and like tracking down invoices and like that kind of stuff. But that is part of any business, and like even if you're
even
a
the
musician,
music business,
you have to do that too. So it's
Yeah, there's always going to be annoying parts. The hope is to keep growing and then get an intern to
or
do it
have
for
someone
you.
that does that.
Well, that's exciting. Okay, well, how do you think that having that, or so maybe the secrets that you own are a part of that toolkit? You know, so what do you think crosses over from your day job, or your business into your music and the way you display it? You know.
Well, I mean, in terms of like aesthetic stuff, I guess I mean, I haven't really made a lot of stuff yet for music, but I like to draw and like make sometimes little like time-lapse posters thingies, like advertising shows and stuff. But I guess also just like work ethic type stuff. Like this is the deadline for this other, like sometimes if you treat yourself like a client, then it like gets done because you're like, I have to work toward this deadline, and it forces you to like really put pressure on yourself, which for me is really helpful. Otherwise things don't get done.
No, just be open-ended.
Yeah. So it's good to kind of set those boundaries and deadlines for yourself.
Totally. Well, I mean, and it's also, if you can see a difference between the way you treat clients and the way you treat yourself, there's like a disconnect.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you can get used to dealing with clients, then you can just make that a habit of always having a deadline and having lists and executing.
Yeah, make a lot of lists. Lists are
I
really
love
good.
lists.
Lists are super great. Do you make? So yeah, this is a good little tip that I think you should share, because I saw you. I was creeping over your shoulder yesterday, and the way your date book is set up is quite interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I just started that. It's called bullet journaling. If anyone is interested in looking that up, it's kind of just a system for making lists and organizing yourself. So you kind of keep track of like long-term goals and short-term goals and break those down into tasks. And it's very like, I don't know, it's been really helpful. And it's just, I just started it, but.
Did you like research that or something identify?
Yeah,
or
my
someone
roommate,
mentioned it?
Abby Littman, she was just like, I'm going to start bullet journaling. And I hadn't heard about it and seen like random things on the internet, but I didn't really know what it was. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is great.
It's almost like a business journal.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's really
How long have you been doing that?
Like I just started January 1st.
Nice.
Nice.
But-
New Year's resolution is to start bullet
but
journaling.
I don't really make resolutions, but yeah, I started that on January 1st. Resolution just seems so daunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do, I don't know. I like try to just integrate things into my life that I think would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So also you, when it comes to this project that we're currently in right now, you know, I feel like you paid for your record. You know, you were brave enough to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, are there any other like kind of strength things that you think like went into the making this record that you know you kind of did on your own? Like, I don't know.
I guess, well, like I've always wanted to make a record, I guess, from forever ago, and I just kind of was like, I guess one thing would be that I made a really conscious decision to be like, I need to find people to work with because I don't know how to do all this stuff myself. And if I did it myself, it would be okay, but it wouldn't be like what I know it could be.
Yeah.
So like it was really cool to find you guys and have people that knew that world. And you know how to I watch you in Pro Tools and I'm just like, what is happening? This is so cool. And like idea wise, you're always like, what if we do like this here and da da da. And it's like really great to have people to like that could also see like what the raw material was and what it could be.
Yeah, totally.
And, like, translate that into like this more polished kind of product.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people that are probably familiar with my music, at least how I play at like open mics and my solo shows, it's very, you know, it's just me and my guitar singing some songs, and I play like one picking pattern and one strumming pattern, you know, and to take that and kind of transform it into like a full band song. My dad's always like, why don't you write a rock song? I'm like, but Dad, I did. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah, it just doesn't have drums yet.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first saw Nicole play, I immediately could, you know, felt it. Like there's wonderful harmony and dissonance in your music, you know, and so you can hear that there should be other instruments playing certain parts of things, like the strumming and the picking pattern. I mean, like Bob Dylan fucking played almost the same thing every goddamn time, you know.
Wait for him.
Yeah, so I think you know, has it been really exciting, kind of like seeing these songs open up into like a full band setting?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean, for me, it was like about kind of like letting go of some control, which I like. I'll be honest, I do like to be in control of stuff, but it's also like been really nice to like let the other ideas in because I know that like you guys have those kinds of like that vision that I don't necessarily have or know how to
express or something.
Get to like by myself. Like I can't play the drums and I can't play the bass, so like I couldn't. You know, there's a multi-instrumentalist people that can like just sit in their bedroom by themselves and like make their whole record, but like that's not me.
Yeah.
And that's not really what I want to be right now. So it was really cool to collaborate in that way with you guys.
And likewise, it's been really cool to trust you as an artist and to know that you can always make like the final draw. If you don't like something, then it's not right. Like we all have to like all feel it, and that's when we know that it's been refined enough.
Nice. Well, I mean, and that's kind of like maybe an interesting topic to run with, you know. It's just like the concept of like taking a chance on your music and then also being like brave enough to let go of some of the control in taking that chance, you know. I mean, it's wild. There's so many people who either like wait because they don't feel like it's right yet, you know, which is like what you could have done. You know, you could have been like, well, I don't know how to do all this stuff, so I'm going to either try to learn how to do it myself, and it's going to take like a long time, or you're just going to like kind of put something out that's just not where it should be, you know?
And I like back in college, I did like a EP of sorts, and I was like, it is like bedroom recordings, and I know what that sounded like, and I was like, you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then I kind of started learning some stuff, and I was just like, man, this is just way too much. Like, if I didn't have my job, then maybe I would have had time to, but I was like not gonna give that up because that was doing really well, and I also like doing that. So I just was like, what does it make the most sense to me to invest my time in, or if I can just put some like funds towards this, like, cause I saved up to do this.
Time is money.
Yeah, exactly. And like, why would I make a mediocre thing by myself if I could make a really great thing with other people?
Yeah, and especially if the amount of time that it takes you to learn those skills just drags on forever, and then you could have made a lot more money in that time.
And also in Nicole's case, the songs were like already done. So
yeah, I mean, we didn't change any lyrics or any melodies.
Yeah, it would have been like, imagine trying to learn those skills, and then all of a sudden those songs would have been like a year or two old by the time you tried to put them out,
and you lose the spark.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's a big thing. Yeah, people waiting for things. I mean, and also just knowing what you're not good at, like knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know, and then knowing what you don't know, or whatever. Not knowing what you don't know, what you don't know. Yeah. I mean, it definitely shaves off like an incredible amount of time, you know.
And it's also just like I mean, it's like way more fun to make it with other people, at least for me, you know.
Yeah.
And like like enjoying that process has been really cool, because I know that if I was in my room doing this, I would it would take me like 10 years first of all, because I would like be such a perfectionist about it and also not know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and also, I mean, it's just wild the like cross-pollination that goes on now, you know. I mean, because we're live streaming this right now, and you know, we're going to have this podcast up, and all three of our individual audiences are going to be able to like have a crack at this, you know. So also you're sitting in your room alone in a cave, and no one's ever going to know about you, you know. And so if you're at least out creating with other people, you're already beginning to interact, and more than likely probably go to shows together and do other things. You know, we've been going crazy on social media, and it's crazy how totally across like all platforms, that's like the one thing I feel like plenty of people are missing is the interaction part, you know, for no reason, you know, for just being a part of a community, you know, and things like that. Like you said, you didn't have to work with other people, but you chose to.
Yeah. Got to give a shout out to Shane Carpenter. He posted something on Facebook that said, "This year, my resolution is to be more present on Facebook."
Yeah. Or like I think it's social media in general too.
Yeah.
He just started Snapchat again.
Yeah, and he's reviving his LinkedIn.
Yeah, nice.
Oh man, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's one thing I don't even use. Maybe I should, but I really just have no idea what it does.
I have one, but it's aging away.
It's like business Facebook, right? Basically. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, you know, so is there any other things that on this kind of like ride, since maybe before meeting us, like what brought you into the Los Angeles music scene? Like, how did you end up meeting Brenda, and like how did you end up playing that up on mic all the time, things like that?
Well, I got, I guess, into the scene by, I was at a random party for a client, a graphic design client, and I was in a band at the time called Pawing at the Ceiling, and one of my friends who worked there, her boyfriend was like, "Oh, do you guys play music? We do this little showcase in Pasadena." And then my friend Matt and Jonathan and Ara, they kind of put this thing together, and I played there for like a year. And then that kind of came to a close, and then my now roommate Abby had a show at the Lost Night. And then there was like, "Oh, this is a cool open mic. Like, I should just try coming out here." And then I went there for like a year, and then I featured there, and that's kind of how I found it. I would go to various mics, but that was my favorite one, the one at the Lost
there's
Night.
a solid group of people there.
Yeah, and then I was always going to like shows and stuff, but I started like seeing people more and like recognizing people because I was like in that community, and then it just kind of happened.
Yeah, and then fast forward, you know, a couple of years, and you're going to be playing the Lauren Ruth Ward residency.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's huge. Congratulations.
When she told me, I was like, she was like talking to me, but I was like, "Are you really?" Like, I was so confused. I was like, "Are you talking to me right now? Is there someone behind me? Like, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And then I was like,
"Well, you deserve to be there, you know."
Thank you. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I still remember at Moonrise, it was like the next morning you were playing a cover of a Lauren song, and she had played the night before, and she walked up and was like, "Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love you." I
was just like, "Oh, she's talking to me." And now I know her, and it's so cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of magic going on in our community. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
and everyone is just really like kind and genuine, which is really cool. Like, like I don't know, no one has like such a huge ego that they like don't talk to people. You know what I mean?
Which really great. They'd be X'd.
Yeah.
X gonna give it to you. That's. I mean, who else were we talking about? That with Joe from Badass Bands, just about how, I mean, we are, the group is really collected, and so I think any of those weird vibes, it just gets picked up right away. People get booted.
People just know if you're not there for the right reasons.
Yeah, like I've seen some people coming in and out. At least like seeing them more often. Like you see people for a little while, and then all of a sudden you just don't kind of see them for a little while. But yeah, I mean, I hope 2018, like our community finds a way to like really like document itself. Because like what's happening around here is like super special. I don't think. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in other scenes around the country, and they never felt this like collected and fire.
Yeah,
it's really beautiful to be a part of it right now.
Yeah, there's so many really interesting people doing interesting things like with each other and collaborating and creating all these
side bands
really
and
cool
stuff like that.
web of stuff. Yeah, it's great.
Nice. Yeah, well, I'm just gonna be whispering in people's ear to pull out their fucking cameras more often or pay someone to do it. Yeah. Well, any like what other like little tips and secrets you got in there? Like I love how you were this is another interesting thing. This is why you're good. This is why I like this is why I like working with you. Because again, like back to the same, maybe that's what today's episode's really about. Is like that whole idea of people not feeling ready, so they're just frozen. And it's that's like the worst thing you can do, because you're not getting any better. You're not like finding your way towards what you should be. And you're just like, it's somewhere no one's hearing about you. So it's just going to take longer to get anything that you have out. But yesterday we're sitting here and Matt was doing some vocal comping and stuff. And Nicole was really good. She didn't have her computer out the whole day. She was very focused. But then at the end, she pulled it out real quick because it was some downtime. And she started busting out pin designs. And I was like, oh, those are super dope. And she's like, well, yeah, I don't even have any graphics yet or anything like that, but this is just the vibe I want to present. And so she went online, or why didn't you tell us?
So I just went on to unsplash.com and
say it louder.
Unsplash.com. It's a really great free stock images. It's kind of like a community of photographers that creates public domain images that you can use for whatever, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Super high quality and like very, very vibey, because a lot of stock images are like smiling guy, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
But this is cool. And and then I just wrote my name, put some type on it, put that in there, just because I wanted to have something that people could take with them.
Yeah, hell yeah. So, I mean, that's like the most important thing now. You make an impression, and then there's no way for anybody to hold on to that impression. It just dissolves,
And that's one of the only places in the music industry where money is really left, is in merchandising. People are always going to buy your shirt if they like your band, and they're always going to grab a button or a lighter. And it's awesome to see bands coming up with really unique merch too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the concept of a pin too is genius. I mean, just even if you're giving them away, it's just people are going to wear them. Yeah, and then like how many people have like pointed to your pins on your jacket for like the dreaming stuff, and like,
Or I love lighters too, because how often does somebody steal your lighter and then they end up with your band's name on it?
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I remember we went to a Jack Benny show once, and they had this whole thing about unique merch, and they were doing toilet plungers, Jack Benny toilet plungers.
That's hilarious. Oh my god!
But people were buying them; they sold out.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. I think they had ashtrays too, but they were like great. They were like, the ones you made in like ceramics class, they were like all like bulky and huge, that's great. But almost the most important part of what was going on with those pins was her saying, I don't have the design idea yet, but she wasn't waiting,
if you had an idea for a vibe, you throw it out there, and who cares if that doesn't end up being it? But
well, it's gonna be something kind of like it, and
and it's also awesome. Just like it's like part experiment and part like, so that like I don't have like a CD right now to give to people or shirts or whatever, so like here's like a thing. It costs me like basically nothing except my time to make them, and like the materials are like 6 cents a button, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So it's just kind of like, now that people have something to take with them, and it's just like I don't think I've ever regretted like doing things. I generally regret like not doing things. So like,
well, that's probably a key element of what makes you successful is
even
though you may be afraid to try something.
I'm for sure afraid.
But you still go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that those are huge things. Like what you just said, anybody listening to this needs to really like let that sink in, like she's never regretted doing something. She's only regretted not doing something. I mean, that doesn't apply to music. That applies to every single thing in life. Like I've never regretted like going up to some cutie on the street and being like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm Eric," and then her being like, "Fuck you," and I've never really regretted that. I've regretted walking away and being like, "Oh shucks, yeah, I could have just met the dreamy woman of my life," But you always regret the things you don't do, and there's plenty of things that you can't take back either. Like you can't go back in time. Like you can't do.
Yeah.
If you let some things slip, they're fucking gone. You know? So interesting things to think about there. Another thing that I was just thinking about too is, so now that this thing's going on, right? Like you're saying, like almost have a record. Definitely starting to play like
final
bigger
stages.
You're definitely starting to play bigger shows.
Yeah.
She's built a band. Why don't you talk real quick about like the process of going through, going from maybe a solo artist to like finding a band? Like how did you do that?
Okay. So the first time I played a full band was the end of last June, and that was with you guys at Harvard and Stone.
That was really fun.
Yeah, for Play Like a Girl. It was really, like, I was just like, oh my God, it's so great. I love Play Like a Girl. And
it's been a great year.
Yeah, so my roommate Abby, she's a musician and had connections. I was like, I need a drummer. She's like, oh, these are cool people you could reach out to. And then you guys agreed to play with me, which was awesome. And then Abby played with me. So that was that first band. And then I played with another band because I don't know, like, since I don't have like a set thing yet, and availability, because you guys are in other bands, Easy Friend, Hydro Kitten.
I mean, I've always played every band before this one. I've always played with session players.
Yeah,
so it's you just
so just I guess knowing people and like having been in various little music communities, just being like, hey, are you free? And then jamming, and every band feels like completely different, which was kind of cool. And then you kind of get to know like what you like and what works well for you, and like, do I want to be more jazzy? Because I have one friend that's very jazzy in the way, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna go more grungy, and like kind of feeling that out. And so for this band, playing with Johnny Cifuentes, I met him at the open mic super early on. He plays for Spare Parts now, bass, and he's just kind of like, hey, if you ever need a bass player.
Awesome.
I was like, I happen to need a bass player. Nice. Which is great. And then his friend Zach, who I also knew from the open mic, he was available to play guitar. And then James, who we played with at the Harvard and Stone show, is an amazing drummer.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. He's like so great. Just comes so prepared.
Nice.
I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it. Just like checking in with people, seeing what everyone's up to, and then people are free and it works out usually.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, on the business side of dealing with a band, do you find yourself like finding more players who just believe in the project and are willing to just come in and play because they want to support it and see it grow, and then maybe become a part of it in the future? Or are hiring session players? Is there some sort of balance? Both?
I do both. And it kind of just depends on how I approach them or if they approach me. Mm-hmm. And if someone's like, hey, I'll just play for you, then usually they just play for me, and then maybe I'll like
if you guys get paid
or like
or
make
something,
them something or give them a cut of it, you know what I mean? And or like trade. Like if they're like, hey, you want to help me with a logo? Then I'm like, yeah,
totally,
I'm down.
Nice.
But then other people that are like, hey, this is my rate, then I'm like, cool. Yeah. That's your rate.
And especially if they bring it. If they're there on time, they always have a great vibe and they never mess up, then sometimes like that's definitely the move.
And like for me, because I do have like my business and is doing well, like I can like I set that aside and I'm like, oh, this is fine. Like I can afford to pay for that right now. And like I don't take that for granted because I know that that's like a rare position to be in sometimes. But
well, this is like a good caveat moment right here, so like so many things go into these next few statements in the sense of how often are people playing, when they're trying to establish themselves, and so if you don't have a band and you're paying players, like how often are you playing? So, what's your investment, and then, are the people that you're paying, are they showing up, killing the job, never bitching, just like being worth the money and being worth not giving them any publishing or anything because they're just efficient? And then are the folks that are doing it for free, are they doing it with all of their heart because they are going to get fucking some publishing?
What were the three things that your brother said there's three things, but you only need two of them?
Oh, well, it's punctuality, talent, and charisma, or like, vibe, basically. Yeah, and so, you only need 2 or 3 to succeed, but 3 of 3 is the goal,
In graphic design, you can have it fast, you can have it good, you can have it cheap. it's similar.
Yeah, right.
Also in tattoos.
Nice. But yeah, so I mean, it makes me think. It's like this overrunning thing too of today of like investing in yourself. I mean, I think a lot of people that are like indie artists, that if they hear what we're talking about and they're like, fuck these guys having to pay players, so blah, blah, blah. And I hear a lot of people complain about having to pay players or get annoyed when people ask for payment. But, if you're playing once a month, which is almost even more, in my opinion, than you should, I mean, maybe not
playing like 2 times a month, which is why I played by myself. But
but that's different though, because there's not a lot of high investment that goes into it. There's not a lot of expectation for draw and things like that. But if you're expected to draw like a big venue, even if you're not expected to draw, if you don't draw, promoters don't remember you, and so
or they do remember you, and they don't
for
book
not
you
drawing.
again.
That person that didn't.
So if you're playing, just call it once a month, because definitely at the beginning, it is good to be out, and I used to not so much agree with that, but like watching the Lauren Ruth Ward thing happen this year and stuff, I mean, she played a lot, and there was, in my head, I was thinking maybe she's playing too much, but she's fantastic, so it wasn't. So I think maybe nowadays things are so saturated that it's pretty hard to overexpose yourself. But yeah, once a month, and if you're paying someone $150 to play drums, $100 to play bass or whatever, blah blah blah. I mean, that's an investment. If you have a killer show with a killer band behind you, that are all showing up like pros. That's not a bad investment.
And then pretty soon you'll be getting a guarantee because people are showing up to see you, and
at least that'll pay for the dudes, or the chicks, But yeah, and then hopefully eventually the guarantee gets even bigger than that, and then you can pay them and take home some dough, But also now that you're about to have this record done, and that's another thing. Songwriters out there that are dealing with like paying people, man, if you have good music, leverage that shit. Your record is going to be incredible.
I hope so.
Yeah, I can't wait for everybody. We can't wait for everybody to hear this record. It's going to be so good.
I'm like, really want to put it out.
But yeah, so leveraging your content,
Yeah, and then, I think, and it's also kind of, we were talking about that, like, how do you put it out, and how do you kind of make the most of that time you have? Because once it's out, it's like in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But do you like really like do a single, and like how do you kind of pace it so that it builds some kind of anticipation in people, and then hopefully more interest and press and all that.
Yeah. And even you have 9 songs, turning every single song into its own special event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could do 9 single releases,
oh my God.
and 9 music video releases, and then the whole
content.
album, and then that's 20 different events that you got people ready for.
Well, and there's a great moment to talk about. So you talked about like a little bit when you were talking about the buttons and stuff like that, about how like this you have a pretty like an 80% idea maybe of what your visual aesthetic and presentation is going to be. So, and that will continue to express itself. But this is something Matt and I talk a lot about now, because I think it's like the most important thing aside from making great music, which is like what story are you telling? Like what, I mean, sure, you can be an artist that like writes about a different topic like every time you write a song, but it's going to be hard to get a collective audience behind that unless there's something else very, very, very like niche about you or something like that. Like you're a dragon that sings or something, then you write about whatever you want. But, Matt's got to hit that the moon button. Yeah, I mean, so what is, or I mean, you don't have, but what is like the Nicole Jaffe narrative? Like, kind of, what do you stand for? Like who?
That's like a really hard question, actually.
It is.
It's the hardest question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the album that we're making came out of like a really like dark time for me. I mean, it is essentially a breakup album. They're all like very sad kind of love songs. And I think that when I perform by myself, that's the general vibe, is like this like sad but beautiful, like something beautiful coming out of something tragic. That narrative. Yeah. But I think
that's a pretty rad narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it's about the like coming from this low place, but finding the strength to like rise above that. Oh, I always get emotional when I talk about but that I think is what I want to do. And I mean, I talked to you about the music videos that I want to work on, and I think I want to, for me, like I grew up dancing my whole life, and so like I want to kind of weave that into it because I've kind of through all that I somehow ended up coming back to dance and remembered like, oh, that's something that was there for me and I should remember that.
Yeah. And it, almost in a sense that could be tragic. It's tragic that you like
when
lost
you
your
watch
way
those
to
kind
dance
of dance stuff. It's like those are another. Oh my god, I'm so like. Oh.
No, it's what's really amazing. Like for those of you listening, you can't see this. Nicole's tearing up right now. It's beautiful because she really cares about her narrative. And you know, like I hope we talk again in like 2 months, and I ask you what your narrative, and you can just tell me in one sentence. Yeah. But the point is, she's super passionate and excited about it, and that it's bringing her to tears. So it's just like finding a way to squeeze what those tears are welling in you for, like squeezing that out is going to be super important, you know?
I was gonna say that when we start talking about narratives in music, like immediately when we first started having this discussion, I was thinking about like American Idol. And the one thing I hate about it is that they fabricate a narrative around every single artist because people don't care about the music on its own. They have to tell this like kind of sad story. But the greatest thing an artist can do is have an authentic narrative that they're really passionate about. And that's a part of like the music that you make, the way that you brand it. That's awesome.
I mean, it's amazing. Now, there's so much content out now, and we're all getting hit with it so fast that we're all, whether we know it or not, we're all getting trained to see bullshit. You know, because there's so much content, there's enough real people, and when we see them, we're like, oh, damn, that was real. And then there's so much garbage that our brains immediately just tune out the garbage and love the authenticity, you know? And it's really hard to fake that shit, you know? I mean... It's like these tears are super great. You're not faking it. It's fucking awesome.
No, I can't cry on command. I wish that'd be cool, but
I mean,
just have to talk about my narrative and then.
Well, no, I think that's. I mean, I think that's already the beginning of a really beautiful narrative. I think that's something that a lot of people can totally grasp onto. I think that's a narrative that can be respun over and over again. You know, in all kinds of different ways.
That's why there's so many more kind of sad songs than really happy. So it's really hard to write a happy. Like a really happy song.
Totally without the sound of cheeseball,
Unless it's like happy, you know.
But, you know, taking something tragic and then turning it into something beautiful.
And realizing accepting that sometimes the tragic has to happen in order for you to feel this emotion and create something that's on that level that means that much.
Yeah, and in my head,
it's like part of the process.
Yeah, you could write an up-tempo song to that idea. You know?
You could.
Like, oh man, I'm just thinking about a bunch of them in my head right now. But yeah, so narrative. I think that's beautiful. I think that's really fun. And then so it's like you've got your visual down, you've got your narrative, you know, in its process. Are you a person that likes doing social media?
No, I don't. But I'm trying to be better about that. And
like, what about it? What about it annoys you?
Because it's not like it. I'm a very introverted person. Just like I'm really good in a one-on-one setting. I will talk to people, but like in a group, I'm just like the listener, quiet type of person. So like it's like the same thing. It's like putting yourself out there. I'm like not the person that's wanting to put themselves out there all the time, and it's funny too because I do. Well, actually, it's not funny. I'm a graphic designer at the end of the day, and not a marketing person. Like that's a totally different like headspace to be in.
Yeah.
And I like making the pretty things. But I'm not the person that's like,
executes on how to get them out. Yeah.
Like, you know, that's not who I've been but it's not like I don't like it. Like I'm on social media. I'm just not
active.
Putting stuff out all the time.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, like I'm seeing and learning and, like really getting to know that it's like not, I think I just have to see it differently in my mind. It's not like, hey, look at me. It's more like, building a community and relationship with people that are not in your immediate vicinity.
Yeah, and how many people like are your friends or follow you on social media that maybe you live across the country from each other?
Yeah, exactly.
And for them, sometimes it's nice to like check in and see your face and be talking to you and live streaming and commenting and.
Yeah, one of my friends from middle school like reached out to me because I like made a Facebook page because I was like, I should do that so that I appear like a person, and like for my music. And then he was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you're making music. That's so great. And then he's making an album too. And that was like really cool to just catch up and like you know. So
I mean, it's amazing. Like they do studies on it too. I mean, it's amazing how people can like your content, but if you don't tell them to like it, or if you don't tell them to go subscribe, or you don't tell, you know, people won't.
They won't.
You gotta like tell people to do things. You know, there's lots of stuff going on. People just enjoy something. You know, you gotta let them know what to follow up on. What was I thinking about? I was just thinking about something. I forgot it. Okay, yeah. So I've remembered, right? Like social media me now has gotten less annoying and less scary because if you like really try and figure out a way to offer something to people, you're not just offering like the vanity of yourself or a selfie or like something or a pretty landscape or something, you know? I mean, if you're a photographer, you should do that like crazy. But if you're just like some person, you know, how are you adding value to somebody's day? And if you think about it like from that perspective, like, man, what you were doing with those buttons yesterday, you know, if you have a decent camera, right?
Kind of, and getting a new one. So,
but even your fucking cell phone worked great, you know?
Yeah.
And if, you know, what you were doing with those buttons yesterday, if you shot a time lapse of what you were doing, where you set up those little circles and then you wrote boom, 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 and just made
like a little process video.
But a 15-second one.
Yeah.
You know, like in your stories on Instagram kind of thing, you know? And just like bang, bang, you edited an iMovie and just like put it up. You know, like that to me, I know you have like a billion of those fucking tricks in your head. And the like the stop motion stuff you do is so fire. Like when I see those things, like those, you should be putting up one of those. Like every third post should be one of those.
Yeah.
Like that could be your thing, you know? But I mean, so I just think about those kind of things. Like if you find
the time lapse
way,
is great. People with ADD, they can watch it and move on. It's only 15 seconds, but it's still so cool to like see someone's process.
Totally.
Yeah,
oh my god.
Definitely. I mean, that's what I like to like watching other graphic designers process and like everything. It's really great.
But think about how much of the graphic design stuff that to you is very native.
Yeah.
Think about what it is to someone like me in a band that, you know, you're maybe applying it to some market, but there's these people that just the littlest pieces of information to them would just blow their mind, you know, or open their mind up to a whole bunch of new ideas, you know?
For sure. It's always so funny because it's like because I, you know, am a part of the graphic design world and in that world, it's like everyone knows all these tricks, but it's also like part of my audience is like a very significant part is like that's not them. Yeah. It's other people that don't know these kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, that'll probably be 4% of your fans are graphic designers. You know what I'm saying? Like that's very, very small percentage are going to be those people that speak that language, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe take inventory of skills that you use, like your tips and tricks. Maybe take inventory of those, even though they may seem super basic to you.
Yeah, I guess that's like another thing about social media that's always kind of difficult. It's like who, because you don't want to alienate your audience. You know what I mean? Like if you started posting something that just felt really unrelated, but in some ways I feel that way. Like I'm a graphic designer and also this, and like I post mostly about music, so it would feel weird to post about graphic design. But I guess like,
but if it's parlayed into what. If you're using it for your band,
I was watching you like create custom typography in Illustrator yesterday, and if I could see like the process of starting from like a blank canvas and then your new logo or new font for this project like emerges out of it in a time lapse.
That would be crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you can
I would watch it.
And it doesn't even have to be like 50% related to your music. It only has to be like 15% related. I mean, it's pretty wild as long as it's vaguely related to what your main dialogue is. And again, like that's almost like taking something. You know, again, this is like loosely fitting your narrative, but the tragic to the beautiful. And it's like, here's my old logo. It's been like a year since I've updated it. Man, blah, you know, whatever. And then you can make it beautiful and you can be like, taking something tragic and making it beautiful. And you're just like taking home that narrative all the time too. Like getting to know more about social media and not just using it like a pedestrian, you know, like we're all using it because it's all how we all share our lives. It's how we keep up with our families. It's how we keep up with our friends. It's how we find out where shows are. I mean, you don't even have to be a musician or a business owner to use social media. Most people don't.
Yeah.
But if you are using it for your business at all, you just go spend like a day on each platform and just Google everything you can fucking find on how to use these things. Because once you find out the differences, they're not as scary anymore. or like the vagueness, like thinking, what the fuck do I post today, or what is the point? And you're like rushing some garbage post out because you're trying to, make sure you do it or whatever,
Yeah.
But like who was it? Gary Vee was talking about understanding the differences between the platforms and talking about how, you could be telling a story to a room of suits. Or like say you're at a board meeting for your company and it's like a little stiffer and you got a new prospective client and you're like going to tell this story to kind of get some relation going. You could tell that story to that room one way, and then the same exact story, you could be with your girls in Las Vegas fucking going nuts, tell the same stories and it'd be told way different.
Yeah.
The same story. And so it's like these are the differences between the platforms.
That's LinkedIn versus Snapchat.
Yeah, exactly. I've finally been finding my stride with Facebook. I didn't know what to use Facebook for a long time, in the sense, just like standard shit, just like putting up shows and stuff. But, that's like my news channel. Facebook's like my news channel. It's where I kind of put opinions, like some of my harder opinions. It's where I'll put, updates about like not content specific, but about like what my goal is with content and like, like speaking more from like this editorial spot or whatever,
or like a forum style conversation.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot more commenting can go on.
Yeah, exactly.
There.
Yeah,
it's like much more opinionated and much more.
Yeah, and conversations get going a lot. People will start like battling each other in your comments.
And then like for me, I want Instagram to just be like this very fun, beautiful kind of like Disney look at my life, like color wise and things like hard colors, really bright, high contrast.
Yeah, like super saturated.
Yeah, exactly. And then tell this like glorified story of what is a pretty fucking glorious life. We live in RVs on a ranch. It's fucking rad. But, finding a way to tell, or finding a way to tell your own story, like I think is a magical thing. I think, I don't know if I can convince people to not be afraid of it anymore. It's great. It's good to talk to you about it,
Yeah. No, I mean, I am like definitely trying to engage in that more, and I do find myself drawn more to Instagram across platforms because I'm like mostly a visual person.
Totally.
But yeah, I feel like it. I don't know. I literally took a webinar. Like I woke up at 8 a.m. to take this free webinar thing.
Nice.
It was about it, and it was actually really helpful because it was kind of interesting. Ties into what you were saying earlier about like trying to add value. Her strategy, she was like, when you write your bio, is you say like what you can do for them, a little bit about you, and then you offer them free champagne. And free champagne is her like word for like a little free thing. So for her,
comp,
it's like this was the course that she was offering. But like for me, it's like pins at my show, or like you could do like a song demo download or whatever, and just like how do you engage them and get them to like sign up for your mailing list or whatever. And it's just kind of like extending your hand to them, being like, here's a thing for you now, like, and then they'll like engage with you because of that.
That's genius.
Yeah.
Speaking of webinars, Josh Beavers told me this hot tip. If you're in LA and you go to the Los Angeles Public Library and get a library card, you get access to lynda.com for free.
Lynda.com's amazing.
It is. And it's normally like $15 or $20 a month, but yeah. The best tutorials to learn how to do anything. So he was saying, I was talking to him about the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite, and he said lynda.com. Go check out the tutorials.
They have really good tutorials. Yeah. Definitely. I've used those.
So we got to go get library cards.
I think, I don't have a library card yet.
And we should just be going to the library.
Yeah, it's great. Reading's real nice. It's a crazy landscape we're in right now as far as the way we're going to be putting out music, I mean, it's great. This record by Sunday is probably going to be pretty much tracked. I'd say maybe like mid-month or end of the month and be wrapped and finished, and it's like...
It's insane.
So it's like, time to start thinking about the next phase, and like we talked a little bit yesterday about like the release time frame, and in my head it's like either summer or next year, and that's crazy to think that we're only in the first 5 days of January of 2018, and I'm talking about 2019. So it's
I can wait that long.
Well, so then in that idea, end of January is when this thing's going to be like ready to basically just distribute if you want it to. Then that's like 4 or 5 months before summer. And how does it happen? Ooh. super crazy. And it's nuts to be talking about like all these different things and platforms and forums and you know, lynda.com and like these different ways to learn. All of those things, every one of those platforms has a way to engage and interact. And it's so wild to think about it from that standpoint of like, what's the right way now? Is the right way spending numerous thick amounts of hours writing lots and lots of blogs to review your content and hope that their audience will and we also judge these blogs by like their audience and their turn rate, but that audience is like an overall audience. It's not an audience that tunes in every single time they release something, you know. So then it's like how many people you're reaching. So then what is the course is like, is that what we're supposed to still be doing, or there's like this new world of like influencers on different platforms that have huge audiences themselves, but they're just a solo person. Norman is like really just wanting to be a part of the podcast right now.
Do you have to take a poop? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Are you trying to poop?
Oh my God, Norman, we're almost at the end of the hour. I know it. But you know, so it's there's all these places. So then there's also like I was listening to this thing yesterday too about you know, growing an audience on any platform. And they were talking, this is the first time I heard someone talk about this, but, you know, for instance, the graphic design stuff you do, or even the course that you were taking, if in those conversation areas, you know, you were talking about how much this thing helped you and how you're going to apply it in this little comment section or on other people's comments that were maybe confused, and you explained a little bit to them, you know, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, every person you're interacting in this like social network, internet, becomes someone that can, if you have content that's ready for them to go view, you know, you can be like, go check out the way I made my pins. This is fucking awesome in some forum. And all of a sudden you get a whole bunch of forum users that are really niche specific going to check out how you made pins, you know, and it's like, it's crazy. There's so many avenues
there's
now.
all different ways to connect with people. And I think it's like smart to really think about like how you, like all the kind of communities you're in and how can you kind of get it, like engage with them, because they're, and I think that's kind of like going back to like how I have kind of lived my life, is I don't want to just be like one thing, and I like doing a lot of things, which means because I like engaging with a lot of different people. I don't want to just be with the same people all the time doing the same things, because I think that like gets stagnant sometimes, and that's why I like all this different kind of things that are different things stimulate you, and different things are inspirational. And
it's interesting to hear you say that you love like all this constant engagement with different platform, different people, different places. but then
I have to be introverted and go away at home.
Yeah, but also you like being in communities when you are in communities, but you also don't like what maybe you would call like bragging about yourself or like letting people know what's going on.
No, I don't like that.
What do you what do you think are the things about that you don't like? You know, like why?
I don't like talking about myself. Is that what you like?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is what you do is beautiful, and the music you write is from a place of like heart and reality, and I'm sure it could really change a lot of people's minds about the way they feel about themselves and their position, you know? Yeah. And you're also vibrant and beautiful and wonderful, and so I think that even in your graphic design world, I think that all your customers would probably love to know what you're doing, you know, and just everyone would love to know.
Clients do ask these questions.
Yeah,
sometimes.
See, there's a demand.
So I mean, it's like, well, I just wonder, you know, because in my opinion, like I think there's a huge difference between just informing people of what's going on, because it's worth it. I heard someone say this quote the other day. It was great, and I'm probably gonna butcher it, but it was basically like, if you believe that you got something, you know, and you do, because you wouldn't put time and money and effort into this if you didn't think that it was good. It is good. So it's not anyone else's obligation to find you if you have something that's going to change their life. It's your obligation to find them. And so I don't think that there's I don't think you're ever bragging or talking. I mean, you're talking about yourself, right? But you're maybe talking about something that could help them.
That's true.
You know?
And with that, where can people find you at?
Yeah.
What's your website?
So that's something I'm currently wrapping my head around. I mean, my website is NicoleKikiJaffe.com. That's awesome. Like where my graphic design freelance work lives. So now I'm trying to figure out, like, do I move my music stuff like there and la la la? I don't know. But
that's another thing I've been thinking about a lot too is as artists, are we only allowed to sell our art? Are we only allowed to expose our art and nothing else about ourselves? Or is it a smarter thing to not, I mean, this sounds terrible, sell yourself? Like, you, all of you, Nicole, like every little lovely piece of you. I mean, the things that you chose to. But should your graphic design be as an important of topic because it is to you as your art?
Yeah, you know? I have a friend that I remember the first time I saw his website, and I knew him through music, but he's a photographer and a chef, and so his website, you get there and it's like photographer, chef, musician, and then you can get off to like link off to whatever, which I thought was a cool way of doing it. I don't know, I might go to something like that or something that kind of like marries all the different things that I do.
Yeah, you could just have a landing page that has the graphic design for your music.
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, like really niche specific. Like, it's the things that kind of apply to.
It's all stuff that you've designed, but it's also music and integrated into like one piece.
Yeah, because I think that like people don't have huge attention spans, you know, and so they want to be really, really interested by something. And if you are really interesting, why would anybody withhold the interestingness that they could potentially share? It's
hard.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
Yeah, and my Instagram name is like completely different than my other stuff, but whatever. We'll see.
Yeah. What is that?
It's picnic, but it's like PIK._.NIK. So it makes like a little like face in the middle.
Yeah. But if people just search Nicole Jaffe, it'll pop up. It should
come up. Or Nicole Kiki Jaffe. Yeah.
Awesome. And then when are you playing live? You're playing Lauren's residency.
Yeah,
right?
on the 15th, January 15th. Super, super excited, nervous, but mostly excited.
Nice.
I think that
if you're in town during that,
come out.
There's gonna be so much magic like in those shows. I think that every artist that plays any of those nights is gonna have like a better
every single lineup is amazing, and I can't believe that I'm in like the company I'm in.
Hey, you know, and even sensitive sweet baby artists have a little baby competitive blood. You know what I'm saying? And when we all know how spectacular of a performer and just prolific person and songwriter Lauren is, all of us are going to show up 10 times as hard as we usually do because we're like, fuck, we got to bring him to the show. Oh my God.
For sure.
You know, so I'm excited for that. I think that's one of the most wonderful things about our community is that it's
like everyone working hard makes everyone else better.
Yeah. It's really, really, really great. The next big goal, I think we're out of time. Yeah, is that where we're headed right now?
I think Norman's out of time. I think he's about to poop his pants in here.
Yeah, he's
being extra affectionate.
Yeah, which he never is. Yeah, exactly.
He's up to something.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he just needs to drink some water. Oh, you thirsty? Yeah, he's thirsty. Or he has to poop, one or the other. But I guess setting intention for the next podcast would be
coming up as a community.
Yeah, coming up as a community. Yeah, either way, that's what's real about it. All right, love you guys.
Bye.
Podcast number 4.